All right, I think we're live. Hello, everybody, and Happy New Year to those of you I haven't said Happy New Year to yet. And very excited today for my real talk with Karen Tiber Leland. Did I say it right?
Tiber.
Tiber Leland. Karen and I go back a while. We're both part of the absolutely fantastic Dames networking group, and we also have worked together, and we'll get to that in a second. So I just quickly want to introduce Karen, and then we have lots and lots of questions for her because she has a really interesting niche. She is a personal branding expert for CEOs. So Karen is the founder of Sterling Marketing Group, a branding and marketing firm to build stronger personal CEO and business brands. She's a best-selling author of the brand mapping strategy, Design, Build, and Accelerate Your Brand. And Karen writes regularly for Inc.com and has been interviewed by The Today Show, CNN, Fox News, and Oprah. She has spoken for TEDx, Harvard, YPO, and the AMA. So welcome to our little show. Very excited to have you
Thank
today.
you. Happy to be here.
So many questions. I don't even know where to start. But since we are on the topic of the power of personal branding on video and social media, why don't we just jump in with the title and sort of talk about that as the overarching topic, and then we'll whittle down to the more nitty gritty stuff.
Perfect.
So from your point of view, where do you see where does personal branding really come in? At what point is a CEO at the point where he or she needs to worry about their own brand?
Well, it's interesting because if you'd asked me that question 15 years ago or even 10 years ago, I would be, well, it's when they have a book or when they're going to want to do an IPO or when they're ready. But the reality is that today, the answer is every CEO needs to have a CEO brand. Because if you look at a lot of the research that's been done by Weber Shandwick and just a bunch of different organizations, there's a lot of polling and a lot of research that shows that a huge percentage of an organization's reputation is tied to its CEO's reputation. A huge percentage of the way, employees feel about the company is tied to the CEO reputation. Even such things as attracting and retaining employees is tied to the CEO reputation. So what I tell CEOs these days is you are really the main brand ambassador for your business. And you have it's not a luxury to have a CEO brand anymore. It's a necessity. It's required. It's part of your fiscal responsibility as a CEO to have a CEO brand. Now, by a CEO brand, I really mean a parallel brand, right? So you have the business brand, but what you have to create in parallel is the CEO brand. They have to work together. They have to be in harmony with each other. They have to support each other. But really, every CEO today has a responsibility to have a defined, well-placed CEO brand.
So if I'm a solopreneur, let's say, am I already worrying about my personal brand as opposed to having 5 employees and being a little bigger?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I get people calling me who run companies that are doing $1 billion who don't have a CEO brand. And I have people calling me who are solo entrepreneurs that are coaches that are, doing close to $1 million a year and they don't have a personal brand. And then I have people that are running $200,000 a year bookkeeping companies, and they do have a personal brand. I mean, I think it's a little bit all over the map. Now, to be fair, most people have gotten on board with the idea that having a CEO brand is a little bit like having a LinkedIn profile. You have to have one. It's like saying, well, I want to be in business, but I don't want to have a phone number. Well, that doesn't really work. You have to have it. So I think most people understand now that having a personal brand in the world we live in, whether you're a CEO or whether you're a secretary, is an important part of doing business and being in the business world. People are at different levels with that personal brand, but I think almost everyone's come to understand that that's just part of the par for the course in doing business today.
So you brought up LinkedIn. So for instance, when we post clockwise, super small company, we're sort of a smidge above being a solopreneur. I use my personal LinkedIn really for pretty much everything.
Everything. Yeah.
Clockwise.
Yeah.
So and I have a personal website, for instance, in the works. It's just not been a priority in the last year, where we just have experienced explosive growth. But is it really like, is a personal brand, is a LinkedIn profile enough? Should there be a website? I mean, where?
The answer to that really depends. It's not a one size fits all, Nina. That the answer to that really depends on where you are, what your objectives are, what you're trying to do, so where your audience consumes information, right? So for example, one of the things I tell my clients is that it's fine to have a business LinkedIn page, but that's not really what people look to. Even if they're looking at your business, they're looking at you personally, right? If you're the CEO. So really for LinkedIn, it's about your personal LinkedIn page. That's what makes the difference, right? So that's what's important for your, like a reporter doesn't go look at the company's LinkedIn page. They go look at the individual LinkedIn page of the CEO or the senior executive that they're thinking about talking to. Right. So I think LinkedIn, if you're in LinkedIn is the biggest business to business social media. So if you're doing business to business, there's no option. You have got to have a good, solid LinkedIn profile. I'll give you an example. A woman called me today. She's a senior VP. I don't want to say the company, but she's a senior VP at a Fortune 500 company. And she's not getting the job offers she wants. She says what happens is people go to her LinkedIn, they look at it and they leave. She, or she talks to them, she sends them to their LinkedIn. She's not getting job offers. So she called me. Well, I looked at her LinkedIn and I said, look, you're a senior vice president. You have all this experience. But when I looked at your LinkedIn profile, you look like a supervisor. Like that profile presents like you're a supervisory level person. There's nothing wrong with being a supervisory level person. But if you're a senior C-suite executive and you want senior C-suite executive jobs, you have to look like a senior C-suite executive, right? Right. Not like you're a supervisor. So I said to her, that's the problem. And she said, well, why does that matter? I said, because immediately people are getting an impression of who you are. So LinkedIn, if you're business to business, is critically important. Yeah. If you're consumer to business, then Facebook might be just as important for you to have a strong presence on, or Instagram. But if you don't do any, like for me, for what I do, right? I'm a branding strategist. My clients are CEOs. I work on CEO branding. I do business branding. I do interim CMO work. Facebook is useless for me as a business. I have a business Facebook, but I don't really care that much about it. My Facebook is mostly personal, right? But my LinkedIn is very important for business. My Instagram is important for business. My Twitter, a little bit, not so much. So it's not that there's one right size fits all social media for your personal brand. It's a matrix of who you are, who your customer is, what your objectives are, where your customer consumes information, right? And what the demographics are of that particular site. All of that has to be figured in before you end up deciding where you're going to put your major attention. And the problem is people do this stuff without a strategy. So they just do what I like to call, this is actually the title of my next book, which will be coming out in about 6 months. It's being finished right now. It's called No More Drunk Marketing, right? I actually copyrighted drunk marketing, right? Because that's what it is to me. It's this drunk marketing people do, which is I'll do this, I'll do that without a strategy. And the reality is you have to have a strategy before you engage in any kind of this sort of personal branding or business branding or CEO branding marketing. Even before you develop a website, you should have a strategy, because otherwise you're just guessing, right? You're just making it up. And then people, and that to me, that's all part of this drunk marketing, which is why the book is called No More Drunk Marketing. And my absolute commitment on the planet is to end drunk marketing and bring sober marketing to the planet. That's my one business.
That's your objective. Well, good for you, because I cannot tell you how often when people come to me with video, the most basic things are not in place, where I feel like you shouldn't even be calling me or talking to me. You need a lot of other stuff first in place before you get into.
And people spend a ton of money, because I get those calls where people go, hi, we worked on my CEO brand last year. We hired an agency and we spent $30,000 300,000. One client spent $1 million, right? $1 million. They were a big company, $1 million, and we didn't really get what we expected, what we wanted. And I don't think you can always blame the agency for that. I think in large part it's because often there's not a strategy and people haven't thought through what is the aspect of my CEO brand or my business brand or my personal brand. And it's not just an elevator pitch, right? There's a whole deep, complex, bunch of questions you have to answer. There's a whole deep, rich, 380 degree, 360 degree. You have to really think about it from this really large point of view rather than just the shallow kind of answers. And then you have to come up with a really well thought out, well-researched strategy that tells you, here's what you should be doing. There's over 40 tactics you could use to build your CEO or your personal brand. You're not going to do all 40. So the question becomes, which of those 40 are the right ones?
Yeah. No, and I mean, that is, I can only concur 100%. So tell me, Karen, you and I have worked together doing, helping you a little bit with your video marketing. You already had really good video marketing in place. We tweaked it a bit. How important is video for a CEO brand?
Well, I think video for a CEO brand is important, but it's not necessarily the right tactic for every CEO, right? So there are some CEOs for whom doing a weekly video and putting them out on YouTube and putting them out on social, short videos, like I think you call them tissue videos, right? Like 1 to 3 minutes. I love that term, by the way, that you came up with. So like for some CEOs, that's a really important tactic and a strategy. For other CEOs, it's not important at all. That doesn't mean they don't need to have any video. They might need to have some video, but that doesn't mean they need to necessarily be producing a video a week. For me, it became very clear for me last year that I needed to be doing regular, consistent, once a week, short 1 to 3 minute videos on the different topics I talk about: CEO branding, personal branding, business branding, marketing, time management. It became clear to me I needed to do that, right?
Yeah.
And I was doing videos, but as you know, because this is your area of expertise, it was so painful. I was suffering every time I had to do them. I was like, oh my God, not only do I have to do my hair and makeup, but I have to do the lighting and I have to figure out what to say. And then it would take me like an hour to just do 1 to 2 minute video. And I thought, this is too hard. I'm not doing this the easy way. And then, as I said, our mutual friend recommended you, and I became part of your cohort. And so what I got out of that working with you was, there's an easy way to do this. So now I have to say it's pretty easy. I pretty much am just able to roll out a video a week really easily. It's all set up now and systematized. I just have to get on the camera and talk. And to be honest, I don't even use a script anymore. I just know the topic I want to talk about, the points, and I just talk for 1 to 3 minutes. Do a rough edit and put it into the system, and it gets done. So I'm delighted.
Yeah, well, I love to hear that. I love to hear that.
You made video really easy for me, Nina. Thank you.
You're ever so welcome.
That was a big contribution to me last year. So for me, doing a video a week is really important. Like, for example, I just finished a whole CEO brand video series. There's 12 of the videos in the series. I think we've posted 7 so far. We'll post 1 a week till all 12 are posted. They live on YouTube. I put them out on LinkedIn. They go on all my social. What I do now when I have a new potential CEO branding client is I say to them, thanks for contacting me. Here's where you can schedule an appointment. Oh, and by the way, here's a link to a whole bunch of videos I did on CEO branding. They're 1 to 3 minutes each. Well, a lot of people look at those videos and it makes a difference, right? Because it answers basic questions. I have a new book that just came out 2 weeks ago called No Nonsense Time Management. Right? 50 Ways to Hack Your Time. That's my 10th book. It just came out through my publisher. Now, it's not self-published. It's traditionally published, Red Wheel Publishing. That book just came out. I'm about to start a video series for that book on no nonsense time management. I'll have 12 of those. 1 a week will come out, right?
It's brilliant. Yeah.
Like for me, video is really, really useful and helpful. I have other CEOs I recommend video for. I have some CEOs where I don't want them doing a video a week. It wouldn't be helpful or useful for them and their audience. They just need to do a couple of core videos, get those up and have those available. So it isn't like every CEO should be, or every person for their personal brand should be doing video, just like every person shouldn't be blogging or every person shouldn't be podcasting. However, video for certainly many people, video is a great way to get your personal or your CEO brand out there.
Mm-hmm. And I think, what it also does in addition to that, and I think, again, it depends on what industry you're in or what your strategy is that you need to achieve with your CEO brand, is that when you are on video and you're doing a good job in being yourself and being personable, etc., you are bringing people into your orbit or into your social circle that jive with you. And I think
people get a sense of who you are and how you work and how you think, and your even just your energy. For example, we talked about this on the video training that I did with you with the other people in the class, which is that, like for me, I'm fast. I'm a fast talker. I move fast. I think fast. So for people that want someone that's really, really slow and methodical, I am clearly the wrong choice, right? But for people that want someone that's fast and quick and will move and will make their time go quick, I'm a good choice. So I think that it's not that there's a wrong way or a right way to be. It's that you get a sense on video of who people are, how they think, how they present themselves, what their energy is like, what they're like to work with. And if you like that, it's a good fit. If you don't like that, it's probably not a good fit. So that's the beauty of video, is it gives you a sort of an instant sense of who that person is.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. So are there any success stories or any maybe invites to talks or anything where you can say, okay, this is where a video actually specifically helped me? Yeah.
Here's the problem with that question. And it's this, I give you the same answer I give when people say, well, does it help me close business to do social media? What will happen if I do a blog? What will happen if I do this? So it's all about, I don't know if you ever follow basketball, but in basketball, they have something called an assist. So the guy, might be the one to dunk the ball, but he got an assist from the other players to help the ball get to the point where it got dunked, right? So to me, what video is it's an assist. That's what most social media is. It's an assist. So when someone reaches out to me and they say, hey, I Googled personal branding, or I Googled CEO branding, and you came up, and I went to your website and I like the stuff on your website, I'm reaching out. The website is an assist, right? And then they say, I listened to a few of your podcasts and I thought it was really great what you were saying. That's an assist. I went to Amazon and I got your book, The Brand Mapping Strategy. That's an assist. Then when I write them back and I say, hey, and by the way, you asked a question about how long does it take to build a CEO brand? Here's a link to a 2-minute video I did on how long it takes to build a CEO brand. That video becomes an assist. So it's all something that helps with closing the client. It's all something that helps with creating a relationship with the client. It's all something that helps to inform the client about how I think about things and educate the client. That's, to me, the greatest use of video in creating a personal or a CEO brand, right? So it's an assist. That's one thing that it is.
I love that.
The other thing is do people find you and look at it? Absolutely. I had someone call me the other day who's a CEO who said, I saw your video on X. I thought it was really great, and I'm interested in building a CEO brand. Let's talk. So in that case, it really made a big difference in a client coming towards me. But I don't think anyone should be relying on just one thing to be the source of generating all of their business or all of their incoming business. I think it's a matrix, and you have to be doing a lot of different things, including, by the way, proactive outreach to potential clients. I don't think you can just sit back and go, okay, I did these videos, let the business roll in. I just don't think we live in that kind of world. I don't think it works that way.
No, not at all.
It all is an assist, and it adds to the credibility. And I think what's important is that your video has to be consistent and in brand with your website. It has to be consistent in brand with your social. It has to be consistent in brand with anything written you do or your collateral. And by consistent in brand, I mean the look, the tone, the feel, the language, the logos. I mean, Nina, you've worked with me enough to know I'm nothing if not consistent in my branding. I'm consistent in the colors I use. I'm consistent in my messaging. I'm consistent in the language. I'm consistent in the logos. All of that stuff makes a difference.
Well, and you also come from such a rich background, which I would like to just touch on for a little bit.
You mean my rich, weird, very bizarre background?
Yeah, but that is what makes you, right? It's like, and I think especially in marketing, and especially nowadays, where I mean, the overused word of pivoting. I mean, we all have to just be on our toes so much.
Right.
And the richer our backgrounds are, I think the more versatile we are in thinking out of the box or seeing other opportunities where other people might not see opportunities. And I read through your LinkedIn profile very carefully before this call. And the funny thing is, I've known you for quite a while now. We've worked together, but I never did it as carefully as today. And lo and behold, I find out that you are a working fine artist. And I also remember you and I having these very spirited discussions about wearing white or black on video. So
by the way, my latest CEO brand video, inspired by our conversations, is about should you wear black on video?
Well, yeah,
that's my latest one.
I just want everybody to know that when I get on a call with Karen, if I am wearing black, I will go and change. And I have stopped wearing black. I mean, I have one black top I still.
And by the way, I love black as a color to wear. It's just, it doesn't work very well on video.
All right. So let's talk about your fine art background a little bit, and then we'll talk about colors and video, because I do want to get to that as well.
Well, I have this crazy background, which is I started out as a musical theater major in college and an art minor. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, and at a certain point in college, I went, well, these are bad professions for making money for me. I liked them, but I wasn't good enough at either one of them to think I was going to make a living at them. So I thought, I think I'll go into business and communications. And what's funny is that being an artist has actually served me incredibly as being a branding strategist. And actually all the acting I've done has served me incredibly in being a branding strategist. So, they've been useful, but they're not how I ended up professionally. But I've basically been a working artist my whole life. I was trained as a painter, and I did and a printmaker, and I did painting and printmaking for a long time. I've had probably 50 exhibits. So I've done art shows, I've done exhibits, etc. And then about 10 years ago, one of my really close friends, DeWitt Jones, who's was a former National Geographic photographer, award-winning photographer. Now he's a keynote speaker, been for many, many years. He taught me photography. I was very fortunate to be taught photography by him. So I became a photographer. And of course, now it's all come full circle. And I've been taking photographs and doing photographic transfers and turning them into prints and collages and selling those and doing shows with those. So it's all come full circle. But, the beauty of being a fine artist and being trained as an artist and continuing to do art is that when I have to do, for example, a website for a client. Now, I'm not a programmer, so I don't develop websites. I have someone I work with who does the actual programming and development. But when I have to do a website for a client, my eye is very highly trained in terms of graphics and design. And again, I'm not a graphic designer, but I know what it is that I want to see. I know how to talk about, here's what I want, right? So I'm able to take that fine art background and apply it to designing a website. If I have a client that needs to have photographs done, I'm able to talk to the photographer and say, look, I've been a freelance reporter on camera. I'm a fine artist. Here's what I'm looking for. I'm able to speak that language, and I know what I'm looking for when I see it. Sometimes I'll spend 8 hours just looking for images for a client for their website, because I know my eye knows what it is I'm looking for. So I think being a fine artist has actually ended up being really helpful in being a branding and marketing strategist. Being a working actor, and I've done a lot of that, has tended up being effective because I understand about camera and being on camera. Some people, after seeing me in this interview, might disagree with that, but
I don't think so.
I understand the fundamentals of being on camera. I understand media from both sides of the desk, both the interviewing side and the being interviewed side. I was a freelance reporter for years for Comcast, writing stories, being on camera, doing stories. So, and then of course I ran a management consulting. I've been doing this job for about 12 years, but before that I ran a management consulting firm for decades, specializing in employee engagement, customer engagement, leadership development. So I just have this kind of weird, freaky background that happens to be useful in the world that we live in today. because most people who do what I do come from either marketing, communications, or PR, which, by the way, are perfectly wonderful, great places to come from in being a branding strategist. I just happen to bring a slightly different background to it that makes me a little bit different and useful for the world that we live in today. And honestly, a lot of the clients that hire me because I have those backgrounds and I bring, that background to it.
Yeah, which is, I think, is really important, and kudos for them for seeing that as a benefit, right, and as an add-on.
Yeah.
So let's talk about colors and video.
Right, one of my favorite subjects.
One of your favorite subjects. So that was something that led to some spirited conversations during our vlog cohort.
You mean I was a relentless hagging people about, why are you wearing that color? It looks terrible on you. Wear something else. But they all started wearing better colors for them by the time we finished our program.
Yeah. I mean, I've even, by the way, have seen Lucia wear more dense colors on
something other than white.
Something other than white. She did expand her wardrobe.
Funny because
lockdown in London, no less.
Well, that's true.
Yeah,
funny because I come from a fine art background. I'm trained as an artist and a printmaker and a photographer. But but years ago, I got interested in textile design, so I went back to a textile design school, which was interesting. Again, which I use a lot when I design websites. But a few years ago, I got really interested in being certified as a color strategist, because even though I worked with color a lot and I had been trained in certain color theories, I was like, I'm kind of interested in doing some more color work. And I went and I spent a year and I did a very leading edge color thing. And I got recertified as a color strategist. And I'll tell you, I think in the world we live in today, especially with everyone on Zoom, people, just always on video, color. I mean, you could see I'm wearing a certain color today. Color is a really, really important part of a personal and a CEO and a business brand, by the way. And I think people don't think enough about strategically. People don't think strategically enough about color, right?
No, even for me as a filmmaker, and I've always been in the documentary corporate world. So you get the people as you get them in front of the camera. I mean, You tell people wear colors that complement you. Don't wear, tight knit stuff. It might moire on camera, etc. But
for people that don't know what moiraying is, it's when the pattern does a jiggy thing.
Does a jiggy.
Yeah, it looks jiggy and it moves. That's what moiraying is, which is incredibly distracting.
Super, and it happens a lot when men wear these really nice shirts that are tightly woven.
They have a tight pattern,
or the necktie.
Yeah.
And when I got a completely new website and branding last year. And I then did also a photo shoot, and the photographer was talking about me buying clothes in the brand colors. I'm like, what? Clothes in the brand color? It was to me, because it was always black,
Right.
And black is not my brand color. So ta-da, and ta-da. So now I'm like, oh, okay, because I like my blues, my greens, my reds. But that was actually something that I had to learn that was completely new to me. And then us living in Zoom at this point, it just ever so much
incredible.
more.
And it isn't just the colors. Like, as a color strategist, obviously I work with people to figure out what colors should your logo be, what color should your website be, right?
Yeah.
What color? And by the way, it's not yellow's popular this year, so you should have yellow in your website. It's because really there's a whole underlying psychology to color, and it's really what colors are representing the psychology of what your audience you're trying to reach and the psychology of your messaging in your business, and figuring that out. And it's like people just say, well, let's have yellow. Well, there's thousands of shades of yellow. So then there's also the subtlety of what yellow is giving the right message. Just yellow as an example, right?
Yeah.
So there's helping people figure out the strategy for their logos and their websites and their collateral. But then there's helping people figure out the strategy of what they wear on video. And that's not necessarily the same, because what you wear on video has to do with, there's two things. There's what colors communicate. Like, reds are always more dynamic, interesting, exciting, just in general psychologically. But then but what shade of red looks good on you? Like, for example, I don't look good in bright cherry reds. My reds are more like these hot pink, burgundy reds. So
Yeah.
part of it is helping figure out for you specifically on video, what
Mhm.
colors work for you and what colors are giving what messages, so you can shift what you're wearing depending on the purpose of the video. The purpose of the video that you're on, because you're not going to wear the same color if you're having a meeting where you're in a supportive role versus you're the person leading the meeting. And I think people just, again, strategically don't think through the importance of that.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I know I didn't until I met you, and I think we should have a module with you in our cohort where
Just on color.
yeah, on color. I think that would be absolutely
Happy to do that. And
Yeah.
it's funny because in the No More Drunk Marketing book, in the brand strategy, which isn't that a great term?
Yeah.
That's, by the way, going to be the another new video series I'm starting called No More Drunk Marketing. That's going to be along with the time management series.
Mhm.
When I wrote the brand mapping strategy book, there's a little bit in there in color, but that was about 3 years ago. And so I've done so much more research, and I've gotten recertified as a color strategist and done so much work with people, and because of video, that the No More Drunk Marketing book has a whole chapter that's devoted to just this idea of color. Because in a way, the way people pick colors is often drunk marketing. They're like, well, mauve is a nice color. Well, blue is in this year. Well, my web designer said gray would look good. What does that have to do with anything?
And Robert, who is commenting, he's also a video producer and a friend of mine, and he says no stripes. And I mean, patterns.
Definitely no stripes.
Let's not even start with patterns. That is something I've always been very sort of adamant about. That solid colors, please. Or
and I want to make an observation that I've had, because you have all these newscasters working from home. A lot of them, in my opinion, their wardrobe choices have really started to slip. And I don't think they realize that they look less credible. Big earrings, big jewelry. I mean, I saw a reporter, a major newscaster on a major station, I won't say who it was, the other day. She was wearing a big black shirt that had this weird pointing shoulders, huge earrings. And I thought, what is she doing? And it's because her producer isn't in the next room to go, that does not work on television. Stop wearing that. So
it's the backgrounds too. Yeah.
And the backgrounds, you have a lot of people that have given themselves permission to just kind of, I think they think they're expressing themselves, but the problem is that it impacts your credibility because it's distracting. And when you're doing the news, or when you're trying to get information across on video, you do not want to be distracting. You want what you wear to enhance your message, not take away from it. So, absolutely. I mean, I've really seen a downgrade in how news people are dressing, and I think it's a mistake.
I agree.
Not all of them, but some of them.
Some of them, no. And I watch New York One, and I love them dearly. But some of them is like, just clean up your background a little bit. Some of them do a nice job, but
I'm talking about MSNBC, CNN, Fox, because I watch all of them just to get a sense of people's brands and perspective. So I watch everything, and I'm really surprised at the downgrade that's happened for a lot of news people.
I think also there's less money there for
I can tell you, having been on lots of those shows as a guest, there's a wardrobe room, and so they don't have the wardrobe room to walk into and just put that on in the morning. So you're seeing a lot more stripes and mores and prints and patterns and things that really detract.
Yeah.
Video, as you know, the cameras, right? It's this big.
Yeah, it's a very intimate relationship with your audience now. Yeah. So Alex Miner, who also is a video marketing friend of mine, he says people don't realize that Zoom can kill your brand, and I sign on the dotted line. Yes, definitely.
No question. And Zoom can kill your brand. Listen, it's video can kill your brand. I mean, there's a few. There's a few speeches I've given where the speech was fine, but for whatever I was going through in my life, I didn't look my best. And that stuff is up there forever. And trying to get it down. And I've literally had people who've met me in person go, wow, you look a lot different than you did in that video that I saw of you. And I'm like, and some video I looking great in, but there's a few that I just wish I could get off the internet. But there you have it.
Yeah, I mean, that is the bane of my existence. I know that I didn't shoot any video for nearly a year when I I gained a couple of pounds, got a little older, whatever, and I was just mortified. I
mean, I had a few videos a few years back from when I was, you know, traveling and eating like crazy, where I must have been 20 pounds heavier than my normal. And I'm like, those videos are still up there, even though I haven't weighed that. I weighed that for about 6 months at one period of time, but that's part of what's up there. So
yeah. That's true.
And they're not all like that. And again, it isn't about necessarily weight or whatever. It's more just about, the point is that video tends to be around for a long time. So you tend to get fixed in a window of time. And so that's one reason it's good to do new videos, by the way, is so that people can see how you've evolved, both in your message, your look, what you're wearing, all of it, right? So you don't get dated. But the other thing is that you want to have recent video, because you don't want anybody thinking, yeah, we all change, we all grow, we all go move. We might get shorter. Don't think we get taller. We might get thinner. We might get shorter. We might get older. We might get younger. We might change how we're dressing. Our hair changes. And it's nice to just be updated, whatever those changes are.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, and it's the same when you go on a blind date, which thankfully I haven't done in a long time. And the person who shows up, their profile picture obviously was 20 years ago.
And that's never a good thing.
Yeah, not a good thing. And I always say my biggest compliment is when I get on a phone call with somebody and they go like, "Oh my God, you're just like on your videos on, on LinkedIn." I'm like, okay, then I'm doing a good job. You know?
Exactly. And when people say that to me, I feel the same thing. They go, "Wow, you're just, you're just like you are in your videos." You know, that even when you talk about a personal brand, that extends to writing. Like, often people will say when they meet me, or if they read my book after they meet me, they'll say, your book sounds just like you. Or if they read the book first, they'll say, it sounds like you. Yeah. So people, that's the whole thing. You want your brand to be consistent. Yes. You want everything that you put out there, whether it's the writing, the video, the pictures, you want it to feel like you. So there's a consistency. Yep. People have often said to me, I can hear you talking when I read your books or when I read your articles, because I write the way I speak. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't clean it up for writing, but it's got that same kind of sensibility as the way that I talk.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything that we haven't talked about that you would love to share with us?
No, just that I just want to say that I had 2 new books come out this year. One is that there was the brand mapping strategy book, which is not new, 3 years old, but the audio of that book just came out. So I recorded the audio during the pandemic with the company Entrepreneur Press, and the new audio book of the brand mapping strategy is out. So for people that don't like reading books, but they want to listen, they can get the brand mapping strategy on audio. And then I had a book on time management, and the publisher came back to me and said, we'd love to have you redo this book, but for current times. So No Nonsense Time Management just came out. It's up on Amazon. It's 50 ways to hack your time. It's got a lot of information about managing your time online, managing your time at home, managing your time on Zoom. It's got a lot of really just great, good information about time management. And I think if you want to market a brand, you have to know how to manage your time well. So those are just 2 things I'd like to just mention.
Absolutely. And then obviously, I cannot wait for your No More
Drunk Marketing copyright.
Copyright. I mean, it's like somebody's told me the other day I should copyright the naked video series.
Absolutely. Yeah. So No More Drunk Marketing will be out in about 6 months. It's almost done. The publisher and I are well on our way to getting it out. I don't want to say any more about it other than there'll be a video series called No More Drunk Marketing. The website's going up, and again, that's my passion, is to stop drunk marketing and bring sober marketing to personal, business, and CEO branding.
Sounds perfect. I'll definitely grab a copy of that when it comes out. Well, thanks so much for joining us. It's been such a fun conversation. And from the comments that, this was so intense. I didn't even get to half of the people who were kind enough to comment while we were talking and while we were on. So I will get to everybody on LinkedIn mostly, as I can see. Great. And answer them. But thank you so much for your engagement as the audience. Karen, thank you so much for your time and your expertise. And you and I will have a talk about adding a module about video and color.
I would love that, Nina. That would be
I would love that too.
That would be great. All right. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. And thanks for all your help getting me on the right video track.
You're very, very welcome.
You did a great job.
All right. Bye,
All right.
everybody.
Bye.